The Daily Torygraph. Torygraph? All right, yeah. Desperate Putin will be defeated, says Tróuss. Prime Minister condemns Russia's nuclear threats as British hostages are lost. Right. Something quite funny about that. A few days ago, Liz Truss was creaming herself, saying how she would press a nuclear button. If I seen that on television, I'm sure some Russian guy seen it on television, maybe highlighted it to the Russian government. A few days before that, we had a Dutch guy saying the same thing. Best way forward for Europe was to nuke Moscow. So we've got Liz Truss saying she'll push a button, and the guy from the Netherlands saying nuke Moscow. So what was the line? Did Putin threaten to use nuclear weapons, or is he responding to Prime Minister Liz Truss, who has the IQ of a goldfish? Right, what else does it say here? Liz Truss last night vowed that desperate Vladimir Putin would be defeated in the Ukraine. We'll see about that, Liz, after the Russian president threatened nuclear war. Well, again, he was responding to her saying that she'll push the button, and the Dutch guys to nuke Moscow. These people really need to learn to keep their fucking mouth shut, don't they? Let's see if we can hone in on this. The Prime Minister said the world was witnessing a decisive moment in the history of freedom. We're witnessing a decisive moment, I don't know about the history of freedom, and that 2022 was a story of freedom fighting back, as she addressed the United Nations Assembly for the first time. Like 2022 is going to be a pivotal year, isn't it? What I think we're looking at this year is heat your houses, have food on your table, tell the Americans it's time to remove their weapons from Europe, or we are going to watch the collapse of Europe. Europe's industry is going to disappear, European people are going to go hungry, European people are going to go cold. Last time I did a geopolitical thing, I said I thought the Russians would switch the gas off January or February. They actually turned it off about a week or two ago, so come with the winter, come with the... well, we're already eating into Europe's gas reserves. How are we going to manufacture things when we run out of gas? So these people are absolutely crazy. Our speech followed a warning from Joe Biden. Joe Biden, he's senile, isn't he? He couldn't warn anything. That guy's a puppet for somebody else. Maybe Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, to Mr. President, that nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. Well, that's something quite sensible from the American government for a change, isn't it? Putin, what's his defence minister, Sergei Shoigu. I watched Putin's speech yesterday. Part of the speech says, I am not bluffing. I don't think he's bluffing. They've just mobilised 300,000 troops to go and fight in Ukraine. So the Ukraine had a pretty decent military success recently. My recommendations to the Ukrainian government is negotiate. You've had that success. We all know your army are fighting like lions. But what most people don't know is that your army are dying for the interests of American businesses and European weapon manufacturers and oil companies and things like that. So if I was the Ukrainian, Volodymyr, pick up the phone, talk to Vladimir before these 300 guys come in and start messing your country right up. Negotiate a peace settlement. I mean, this is going to get really, really crazy. As for Europe, why would Russia negotiate with any of these European leaders? Think about it. Liz Truss, Olaf Scholz, Macron, they're all puppets and they're all idiots, and they have all followed the American government's recommendation to flood the Ukraine with weapons and sanction Russia, which is boomerang back in European economies. If you were a tinfoil hatter, you would think to yourself, who benefits from European economies getting crushed? It could be America, couldn't it? If BMW and Audi and Volkswagen aren't selling cars, Ford Chevrolet and the other American car manufacturers as well. What happened at the end of World War II? Europe went from being a engineering manufacturing powerhouse to being bankrupt for the next 80 years due to America's bailing us out. Is the same thing going to happen? Could happen, couldn't it? Europe, and another way of looking at the Ukrainian thing is the Ukrainian military are fighting for the right of the American government to put American weapons onto the Russian border. I'm sure if you're a Ukrainian soldier, you're thinking I'm fighting to protect my country and my borders, and it's very, very noble. They are being invaded, there's no other way of looking at it. But you could look at it like that, couldn't you? The American government overthrew the Ukrainian government, and now the Ukrainian military have been used as a proxy to fight Russia in a battle they can't win. Right, let's wrap this up. Sturgeon must back economic growth to avert new tax crisis. What Sturgeon should do is phone Liz Truss and say, hey Liz, the Russians have just threatened nuclear war, kind of, as what Liz Truss did. Right? She probably kicked the ball to the Russian court. Hey, this is maybe Nicola Sturgeon. Hey Liz, it's Nicola. Hey Nicola, Liz, what is it? Any chance you can get the American nukes out of our country before the Russian Federation turns us into a smouldering ashtray? Well, Truss responds by saying, oh, we can't do that because the Americans would fall out with us. Sturgeon says, oh, that's right, they're stealing all our oil as well. Sorry about that, Liz. No bother, Nicola, see you later. Bye-bye. Right. So the telephone conversation should have been Nicola Sturgeon phoning up Liz Truss saying you've got 30 days to get this stuff out of our country before we phone up Russia and tell them to bring in weapons inspectors to look at Fazlini Coalport to make sure we are not a threat to the Russian Federation. Ram your union up your backside, we're off, we're taking the oil, we don't want our people to freeze over the winter. It's not going to happen, we will freeze over the winter. The most energy rich country in Europe is about to run out of food and energy. Considering Scotland's a net exporter of food, oil, gas, electricity, how did we get ourselves into this position? Because people like Liz Truss and Nicola Sturgeon are muppets. They act for what's in the best interest of the American government, not what's in the best interest of the Scottish government. So that's my 7-minute, 30-second review of the Daily Telegraph. This newspaper's just a it's not propaganda nonsense. I wouldn't do a newspaper review if it wasn't sitting in front of me at work. Certainly wouldn't give these people any of my money. There's something to think about. We need to get the nukes out of Scotland. Simple. It's on a knife edge in the Ukraine. From the minute the Russians fired the first cruise missile into the Ukraine, they had looked at taking on NATO toe to toe, and it kind of looks like the weapons the Ukrainian military have, they're spent. The weapons the Ukrainian military are now using are NATO weapons. So as far if you were the Russian military, you're thinking we are fighting NATO just now. So it's on a knife edge, isn't it? Somebody does something stupid, Fazlini Coalport are going to get turned into a big smouldering ball of radioactive ash. It's going to affect Glasgow and Scotland badly, isn't it? So if Scotland had nationalised energy, we nationalised electricity, oil, gas, we would be creaming it. The Norwegian economy is doing great, Russian economy is doing fantastic, thank you very much. Scotland's got down the plug hole because we're tied in with Tories who are maniacs. They've just bailed out the energy companies as well, haven't they? The tune of billions and billions of pounds. Why would you do that with the energy companies? Why would you not tax the energy companies out of existence and nationalise it? Then you've got some kind of energy security, because she is as thick as a plank. And she's actually a pretty good politician, but she does not have any fire in her belly. Right, so 10-minute newspaper review from Old Dog TV. Thank you all for watching. Bye.